You are listening to New Theory Radio. Theory Radio.
Hello and welcome to another edition of New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk, Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa and I am your host, and this is the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. Being a creative entrepreneur can be a lot of work, but what if your significant other was the same? On this week's NTR, I wanted to better understand how couples operate when both people are pursuing their artistic passions while also managing family life. And I'm honored to have two great individuals joining me to do a deeper dive on this. I have spoken word powerhouse Alyestal Hamilton and visual artist Reynold Thomas, both of which are married to each other and have two beautiful daughters, Monae and Soleil. And they're both creative entrepreneurs, and I want to figure out how they make it work. So thank you both for joining me here on New Theory Radio.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Before we begin, it's February. Yeah, it is very exciting, very exciting. And before we begin, it's February when we're recording this, and it's obviously Black History Month. I wanted to get understanding on how the both of you are commemorating it this year, considering the year we just had, not just with the pandemic, but with the racial injustice movement this past summer.
Do you want to lead with that?
Sure. Well, this year is a little different, whereas we rang in the month and the year with a brand new addition to the Black family. So I guess that's how we're doing it. We're just really keeping the love alive and creating and understanding that some of the legacies that we lead will also be something that we transfer over to our children. So them seeing us as individuals and sort of how we operate through our Blackness and really just our understanding and awareness of who we are is something that we're really instilling to our kids. And that's something that's naturally broken down to them.
I think the other thing with it too, so something interesting that I learned today was that there are actually themes to Black History Month, which I didn't know. So this year's theme is actually the Black family. So it's quite important, considering the theme, to the discussion that we're having, for the theme to be Black family. So Soleil was born in the last few days of January. So like Reynold said, we started off the month really just being a Black family. And I think one of the biggest things that I've always said about our Blackness and about our identity is that we're walking revolutions just by simply existing. So when we operate in the fullness of who we were created to be and the fullness of all those elements of our identity, particularly our Blackness, right there in itself, we are in our existence living out what Black legacy is, what Black family is, what Black love is, what it means to be a Black creative, and celebrating Black History Month. So in light of all of the things, to go back to your question, in light of all of the things that have happened, not just in 2020, but with the racial uprising and awareness that's been happening in the community at large, just us simply existing and loving and growing the next generation of Black leaders is revolution in itself, is commemorative in itself, is building up the Black community in a way that is necessary, but also is very different, considering that we're still very much in a pandemic. So we can't come together and congregate as a community the way we standardly would in participation and celebration of Black History Month. So while we're still doing our creative stuff, and we're doing it digitally, online, submitting videos, pre-recorded content, or just showing up live, the way that I think we can best commemorate Black History Month is by simply being who we are and loving each other as a family.
Well said. Well said. That's beautiful. Beautiful from the both of you. And I'm glad that I had no idea that was the theme of Black History Month this month. So it's good to know that. And it's very fitting, like you mentioned.
Black History Month to catch up on.
Yeah,
What were the other 60 themes?
I don't know. I just learned that there was a theme now. I just learned.
Exactly. I'm curious, how did the both of you meet?
He tells the story better.
Yeah. So originally, we both went to York University, and funny enough, we were in the same program, but did not know each other, nor did we have any classes.
And being that there were so few Black people in the English program as well.
Yeah. I'm thinking I was like the one other Black guy, and she was like maybe one of 5. Yeah, my focus was more so on just like filming literature and poetics in the sense of that. I think you focus more on like anthropologic stuff.
Yeah, well, my major was anthropology, so my minor was English, which would explain why we probably didn't have overlap. But the point is, we both went to York University.
Yeah. And if you've been to York, you should have seen like the Ladbury Hall walk. And I saw her, and I was like, oh, I gotta try to talk to her. But she was just like on lightning speed walking. I was just like trying to catch up, to give me the light of day. I was like, you know what? If I ever see this girl again, I'm gonna talk to her. And then like 3 years later, I was like, wait, is that really the same? Is that the same girl? I was like, all right, cool. Let me try to get a date for Valentine's Day. So I saw her again, asked her out. She's like, yeah, cool. But
told me a really bad Michael Jackson joke that I don't remember that I laughed at anyway. So
I told him, well, those 2 jokes. I told him I'm looking for somebody to sit in the cubby seat of my getaway car. You know, like Death Race, the cubby seat. You got a guy driving. I was looking for something to sit there. She thought it was funny.
So I entertained him until we got to the other bad joke.
Yeah. But she actually stood me up.
I canceled. I didn't stand you up. I canceled because I literally started panicking because so our dating anniversary is February 13th, and which is another random fact, National Black Love Day. So something I also recently
I think
discovered.
She's making something.
Wow.
No, I'm not. No, but
we don't have the same calendar. That's not showing up my game. That's not showing up my calendar.
But I learned that this year, so it's another random fact that I learned this year. However, we have our dating anniversary on February 13th, and we were talking whatever else, but then he wanted to do like the first date on Valentine's, and I literally started panicking. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't do this. I'm not okay with this. I was like, let's make it for the 15th. So he said I set him up, but I just started to panic. I stayed in my house on Valentine's. So it wasn't even like I set him up. I just panicked.
There was dating on Valentine's Day.
Poor Ren.
Now, married with 2 children. All we're
Say Ren just spent Valentine's Day alone.
Yeah. Gee.
But now he's married with 2 children, so really he won in the end.
That's true. Now I can just celebrate one thing. We got 2 dates in February. According to her calendar, we got like 10 things to celebrate.
I had no idea.
So cool. And what really stood out is just both of us, having that background in literature, and just different innuendos and things that we see and sort of hear. Like we'd be the only ones laughing. And,
that's how my family knew that we were meant to be together, because it was like 4 months into dating, and he said something, and I laughed and no one else laughed. But everyone realized I wasn't laughing just because I was like, oh, this is the cute guy I'm talking to. It was like, she's the only one who gets it, and no one else did. So afterwards, everyone was like, yeah, you guys are meant to be together.
Yeah, we make a lot of just like back and forth modern poetry jokes, or just like James Joyce to the innuendos and thoughts and processes. And people are just like, we don't know what the hell you got time for. But it seems to work for you guys. Family's growing.
There you go. Yeah, it's fascinating to see just the bond that both you have, and it's very evident when the way that both you show up on your social feeds, and just the support that you provide each other. And I'm curious, when you both realized that you had obviously the passion was there, considering that both of you were in the same program within university. But when you started to realize you had specific passions, Ren, you obviously being a visual artist, and Alyestal, you being a spoken word artist, how did you go about supporting each other when it comes to each of your work?
Well, I will say, and I'll give her credit definitely where it's due, is I definitely would not have been the artist I am today without her support, and really just her recognizing what it is I can do with my work. I've been an artist and a painter for years. I'd say I'm going like 20 years now. So like my first painting and my first studio show, like exhibit, was, I'd say it was like 2008, 2009.
Wow.
But I had just works collected and just sort of sitting along this wall.
Sitting on his mom's wall.
Yeah. My mom's house is actually like my first like gallery.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was trying to Instagram, so I'm trying to like
share it.
Yeah. So she was really supportive in like helping me understand what I can do with the work, helping me understand like, you know, the value and like what sort of value proposition I could take in terms of making this something profitable. I was always sort of good at sharing stories of my work, but she really was the greatest support in helping me to understand how I can sort of fine tune like my artistic voice and what I was trying to share, and really start looking at right back to our English program. Sort of we look at things contextually, thematically, and through format. And once I sort of found a way to sort of break that down with her work, with her help and sort of the copy behind it, just in terms of the written word and spoken word, and really sort of getting that language fine-tuned was a great catapult in sort of helping me launch into the work and creating now and the success that I've gotten now. So.
Mm.
You're welcome. I think that's the other thing too. Like I remember the first.
She's like, "You're damn right."
It's true.
Where's my credit? God damn it!
No, honestly, it's funny because people will ask you like, "Who wrote your copy?" And he's like, "My wife." And they're like, "Wait, what?" The lady upstairs, as his students refer to me, because especially this past year, being that everything is digital, Reynolds working downstairs and I'm upstairs with Monae, and now with both girls. So I'm referred to often as the lady upstairs.
Wow.
So with that being said, it's actually really humorous that people don't realize that I also am a creative. A perfect example is Reynolds actually was a panelist at a Ryerson Black History event about 2 years ago. And the president for the organization, he reached out to me for a workshop about 6 months later. And there were students in the workshop who didn't realize that we were a couple until the president said, "Oh, that's the mom for the baby that we saw at the event for the panelist that was there." And then when they pieced it all together, they were like, "Wait a second, like, what?" You
That's
just
awesome.
sat there silently with your child and like chased her up and down the stairs. Meanwhile, you're able to do something like this. So that's the other thing too, I think, in terms of us supporting one another. We let the other person take the spotlight that they need to be taking in that moment so that they can pursue what they need to pursue, and really finding that balance. It's like a tandem act of understanding who needs to push and who needs to pull when. And when we both need to push, when we both need to pull. A lot of, like in the first weeks of when we were dating, he kept saying like, I'm an artist. And I was like, yeah, you are. I had seen nothing but a few pieces at like his house and at his mom's house and stuff. But I was like, yes, you are an artist. And he kept saying, I'm going to do an art show. And we've been together for a year and he hadn't done an art show.
Wow.
And I was just like,
She stopped believing me for a while.
I didn't stop believing. That's a lie. I fully believed in him. He thinks I stopped believing him because I didn't want to put pressure on him to think that he had to like show up in this monumental way. It's like, when you're ready, and it's good. And most of like our first dates throughout like 2013 was literally poetry shows, open mics, him showing up, him knowing poems. Sometimes I'd forget a line and I'd be like, "What's the line again?" Like line, and he'd be like, "Oh, blah 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 blah," and I'm like, "Oh, right," and pick up.
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
That was my Alyestal voice.
So I think that's really how.
Yeah. When it's time for me to go into, dad mode / cameraman mode / picture taker mode. We just know what time it is in terms of like our rules and things that we place with each other.
Because even on like socials, like you were saying, like you can see how we show up for one another. But people will ask me like, who takes your photos? I'm like, him. Like, there's no one else to take our photos. We don't have help. There's no other way to phrase it. Like, we don't have assistants, we don't have a team, we don't have family members who show up and care for our children when we're not present. We don't have people on the back end. Like, we got ready for today and it's like literally the two of us trying to like get the girls fed and quiet and changed and settled. There's no one here to look after our children.
Where's the tripod?
Yeah, where's the tripod? Like,
the bin in the car.
Right from a previous project that he had to shoot earlier this week, and I was looking after the girls 3 weeks postpartum by myself because no one was here to help out with us.
Yeah.
And so that's been our lives, especially our married lives. People ask me why Monae comes to shows with us because there's no one to take care of her.
Fair enough, right?
We love that here. I'm like, we love to have it here. It's kind of eerie to have a 4-month-old sleeping on the bar table, but
yeah.
It's like, whose baby is this? Like, no,
but
it's the performer's baby.
But going back to Black History Month and Black Legacy, it's part of our story though, because in her first month of being born, literally she was born January 1st and February 1st. We were at Parliament Hill with her in a baby carrier with Reynolds art on the walls. Like, that's a part of our story. As much as it has its challenges and it has its difficulties, that's just the reality of our lives. But that's also the legacy that we get to share with our girls and just showing them that you get to show up in these ways, but adding to their own story and their own richness of their own experiences and journeys as they grow into who they need to be.
Monae sitting here like the producer is actually killing me.
So yeah.
A little snippet, like she just like listening in on the
Oh,
call.
that's so cute. Hi.
So yeah, that's really our experience, just knowing how to push and pull and allow the other person to stand in the light that they need to at the times that they need to.
Yeah, and I've had a few friends ask me, like, so who's the lead here? Like, who's like the main push in terms of like,
who wears the pants?
It's just not even a sense of that. It's more so just like career-wise in the sense of like, so like who's Batman, who's Robin? I think we're both just suited up as Batman. And,
yeah.
I mean, you may be Batman wearing all black today, and I'm Batman wearing gray today. We just really, and then we're both Bruce Wayne too. We don't got Alfred.
Right? Yeah, there's no Alfred.
Yeah, so it's really that understanding of the support and role that we need to play in terms of like to ensure that both of us are living to our fullest potential and understand that what needs to be done for us both to be successful. So I've had friends ask me like, so now when things started taking off with my work, some of the accolades I was getting, like, oh, so now you guys pushing 100%. I'm like, no. When it's time for her to jump in, and then we sort of pull that belt back, and then it's over on her side. It's really just understanding that we're both in this together, and we understand what roles and that we both need to be playing to ensure that that both of our work is being produced at its highest level.
Yeah, and that was a question that I had, and both of you already answered it regarding balance and just how you go about balancing both people's passions, even balancing family life now that you have 2 daughters. And it sounds like you guys have found a formula. How long did that take you, do you think?
I think it came pretty quickly, to be honest. Like, even when we were dating, it was like, I mean, if Renan wants to disagree, he's more than but I want to say that we found that groove pretty quickly, even before we were married. So we found that groove pretty quickly, and we also, I want to say, like, we did it unspoken, if that makes any sense. Like, we really just started to fall into the roles that we needed. We saw the gaps that existed for that individual, and we fell into the roles, and we stood up in the capacities that we knew that we would be able to fill. So I knew that while Reynolds can tell stories about his art, I have the ability to put it in a formalized way for our press release so that a story can be picked up.
Yeah, she's definitely here for PR purposes.
So it's like,
why not?
Knowing that that's like my stronger suit, I just naturally stood up and said, I'm going to get this done without saying it to him. Just being like, all right, so I drafted a press release. I just need a couple of quotes. And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, these are the context of the quotes that I need. So it fits my story. And he's like, okay. And I did it. And he just reviews it to make sure that it's like, the voice that he wants it to be. And we just move forward. He sees the gaps that exist. For instance, like I said, we do it ourselves. So any images of me are usually images that he's taken, and he steps up and he's the person who takes those images or holds the camera in whatever capacity to record, or holds the baby whenever I need to be hands-free.
You need content shot. Like the studios are closed and no photographers. All right, perfect. Let's set this house up in a way that we can make it look like it's a studio.
There you go.
It's true. That was all my maternity photos.
Why not?
It's true.
Yeah.
And I think the thing too is like a lot of people think that balance doesn't exist. And they'll be like, oh, well, there's no such thing as balance and blah, blah. And I'm like, then you clearly don't have enough on your plate to have to figure it out because you really have to figure out.
It's just to catch one ball. If you got like legit 10 balls coming at you, you're going to have to figure that out. Start juggling.
Yeah. No, because you always hear stories about one person having to give up their passion because one person, like their significant others, maybe too deep into theirs, where they have a consistent income or just consistent work that's coming into play, and the other person almost has to play quarterback and look after the family, or maybe find something a bit more stable just to help out. But I find that with the both of you, it sounds like there's that balance does exist and it came naturally. Like what advice would you give other couples that are in a similar situation?
Two things I would say is, one, communicate so that you guys are all on the same page. The other person's dealing with thinking, feeling, experiencing, wanting and desiring. Because that person may feel like, you know what, creatively I just need to take a break. And they're cool with taking the backseat for a couple of months so that the other person can fully pursue. They can recharge, refill, support in the ways that they need to, and then switch out or come back or do whatever they need to do. And the second thing I would say is be friends. And we say that regardless of if someone's in a creative relationship or not, you actually have to like the person that you're with. If you're working so closely together.
It sounds simple, but it's actually so true.
No doubt.
A lot of stories. Would you actually really genuinely like this person if you were not in an intimate relationship? There's no obligation. If didn't get as far as you guys now have a out. Would you actually enjoy spending time with this person? But I enjoy her company. We legit can make jokes all the time. We can share, intellectually our interests are very similar. And we both have similar but different viewpoints of something that adds to a conversation or a topic or an issue that we both see as valid. So I would say definitely pursue that friendship. Understand that who you want to be with is maybe somebody who you want to like. Because
you might not always like the person. You want to always love the person. But I think the thing with it is you want to ensure that, like Ronald was saying, like you actually could be a friend with this person. There's your intimate relationships, your family relationships, you can't usually choose who these people are. You don't choose your siblings are, who your parents are, extended family, etc. But you can choose the person you're going to spend the majority of your life with forever. And if you also are working closely with that person, not in just raising a family, but creatively working with that person and spending, like for lockdowns and quarantines, we were like, this is kind of like our life. We see each other so frequently. We spend so much time together. We already do this.
Send help.
Oh man.
But,
blink twice if you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think the thing with it is like, yes, we figured out communication. We learned to communicate with one another. But more than that, we genuinely like each other enough to be able to say that we can enjoy each other's company, but we can also make it through the challenging times that naturally will arise, because we know that what we are fighting for and working towards is worth it. And it's not worth it because of the children, and it's not worth it because of our careers, and it's not worth it because of the perception of our lifestyle, but it's worth it because we actually like this person enough to want to keep them around. And we like who we are with this person as well.
Amazing.
And another thing is just we have a general interest in each other's work
and well-being.
Yeah. I was a fan before anything. She shared to me that she was a poet, and I was like, okay, cool. You know, at the time, 2012. At the time, you know, like that's when Toronto art scene, you know, poetry wise, was definitely on the rise. Yeah. And I was really a fan of her work. She'd show me her manuscript, and she trusted me to help, like, you know, edit a few things. And that's really how like that before started. I shared to her that I was a poet, and she said, yeah. I mean, I shared to her that I was an artist visually, and she's like, yeah, cool, yeah, that's cool, that's great. So, I didn't see any work, but
that's a lie.
Not playing. Well, she definitely took general interest in helping me understand what it is I can do with the power of like my voice and the power of the work that I create. Yeah.
That's amazing. But both, you know, I'm glad that I was able to dig deep into your relationship, because it truly is nice to see both you support each other, and both of you are amazing artists. So being able to see how this comes to life and how you're able to manage this and family life together is very motivating. And I'm happy that you're able to share this wisdom with us here on NTR. If anybody wants to connect with the both of you, this is your opportunity to plug what you have going on. And I urge everyone to go check out the Alyestal and Ren's work, because it's truly amazing.
I guess I'll plug first. I am the only Alyestal, so literally you can find me on every platform at ALYESTAL.
I assume I'm the only Renz. Sometimes it's hard to make passwords. So you can find me at my IG is RENZZZART. LinkedIn, I'm definitely looking to work with a few more corporate institutions, organizations. Recently started to partner with a few people from the psychotherapy side of things, or really trying to understand like the psychology of color and art being used as a tool of therapy. Wow. So yeah, you can hit me up at Thomas on LinkedIn. And I also run a virtual life drawing session. So welcoming all artists of all different walks and skill sets. So if you last thing you've drawn is a stick person, that's fine. Just come right in. If you are a master in your craft, I would love to have you on as well. It's actually something that's been pretty great in terms of it has a pretty great global reach. We started it at the beginning of lockdown last year, and it's been going digitally, yes, virtually on Zoom, and it's been going weekly ever since. Thank you for that.
Yeah, because he started actually July.
Yeah. So you can find that on the Figuration page. That's figure, so FIGURE, the number 8, and TION. It's figure 8 SHUN. So check it out. I'd love to see all of your faces there. It's a great way to connect and you know, to socialize during these lockdown times and really just try something. So you can find me there, and
Amazing. Well, thank you both for joining us here on NTR. And yes, that's Alyestal Hamilton and Reynold Thomas, and creative entrepreneur / artist super couple. So go give them a follow and support their amazing work. And we are going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to have more New Theory Radio here on Saga 960 AM.
You are listening to New Theory Radio.
If I dip quick, have fun with it, ayy. If I dip quick, have fun with it, ayy. Get your little story, better run with it, ayy. Get your little story, better run with it, ayy. If I dip quick, have fun with it, ayy.
And we are back here on New Theory Radio, here live on News Talk, Saga 960 AM. My name is Nav Nanwa, and I am your host. And this is the show where we theorize on arts and pop culture. And it's about that time for our NTR Spotlight, where we profile a person pushing the scene forward, both locally and globally. Our spotlight this week was born to immigrant parents of Nigerian and Jamaican descent, two of the most influential nations of the world when it comes to music. His debut project, Until Now, premiered in March 2016 to positive acclaim. Since then, he's been featured in such notable outlets like Noisey, Complex, now Toronto and Exclaim magazine. Known for his blend of melodic, bold, and carefully thought-out soundtracks, his latest release, Maybe It's Nothing, Maybe It's Everything, is capturing critical acclaim. And he's about to have a standout year this year in 2021, and we can't wait to see it. Please welcome EverythingOShauN. Hey, man, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, man. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate being here.
Yeah, man, long overdue, and a big congrats to you and XP on all of the success so far. I've seen the content that you guys have been doing with Roots. It just, things are definitely moving in the right direction for you, for the both of you, and I know how closely both of you work on the music, so it's great to see. And I want to go all the way back, man. Just let me know how EverythingOShauN got his start in music.
That's an interesting question because it's like, what's your start? Like, we just kind of like made our own opportunity. Like, if I'm going to start from the beginning, really, my dad put me in music, piano lessons actually when I was like 3. So I kind of been like grown into the love of music from a theory point of view. And then because he's such a big music connoisseur with playing all sorts of genres of music, doesn't matter what it was, classical, country, hip hop, R&B, gospel, his range was crazy. So hearing that from such an early age, it's kind of like there's no like start time for me when it comes to the music. It was just always there, just like being athletic and just like wanting to go outside to play in the field or play a sport, just because you have the energy to do so. That's what it was with music. I had the energy to do so, dancing around with this guy and my grandmother and just you know what I mean, just finding something to do. And I think that's what piano kind of did for me at the beginning. Yeah, right.
That's dope. Yeah. Did you ever jump on the keys now or no?
Once in a XP does it. XP does it more now. He has to, right? He's a producer, as a producer. But like originally, I was the one who was doing that the most. Like I was doing like piano recitals and competitions and Royal Ontario Conservatory of Music.
Wow.
I was doing that early, but I was falling in love with the poetry of music more than,
So XP kind of alluded to it that you like the sort of the poetry aspect of things. When did you start to write?
I was probably in high school. In high school, I was known as early high school. I was known as like the beatboxer a lot. So I was doing a lot of beatboxing. I even remember we went to a church beatboxing competition.
Oh, tell me more, please.
It was a church beatbox competition, but like this church was called KRT. They had like a citywide like youth day type of thing, and so everybody was coming all over. Like Hoodmans was there, and all this crazy was going on. And I remember that me and my boy, who used to produce with us too, we did a beat, but we were in the finals, and I think we had what song did I do that we ended up winning though.
I'm sure.
It wasn't grinding. No, it was something a little bit more intricate than that. But that was like a highlight of my beatboxing career, right? So we won like a cell phone that day, and like we argued about who was actually gonna keep the phone. I let him keep it, but I was just gassed off the idea of, you know what I mean. But in high school, that's kind of like where it started, and then just had so much to say. Like this, I was always rhyming, but to myself or to my brother or to people that I was on the ones with. But you know, when you started to get into high school and you start seeing people that are like-minded like you, that want to you know, rap and they want to sing and they want to like write their own things, that kind of like got me like, you know, I should be doing this too. I'm not just a beatbox guy. Like I got stuff that I want to say too, stuff that I've been going through too. So, and then it just went from there. We, you know, high school, you have them rap clicks and stuff like that. I went through a lot of that for sure.
I feel like everybody in Brampton had like a rapper phase in high school, but only the real ones stuck it through, like you, and actually made something out of it.
Bro, there's a lot of them. There was a lot. I'm thinking about even some of them now. That's like they had no ambition to rap or make music, but because they saw me doing it, they'd be like, "Yo, let's come. Yo, I want to go to the studio with Jay. I want to get to the studio with O'Shawn and just." Or write me something. They always be like, yo, write me something. We'll have the most obscure raps from some people. Just like rapping that never rapped a day in their life. They probably never rapped a day in their life after that either.
They're on their, they thought they were on their Easy.
Like we did a lot of that.
They're looking for their easy moment. They had the credibility, but they just didn't have the rhymes, right? Who were some of your influences while you were coming up?
That's a good question. Influences, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, they were kind of like all over the place, just because of how eclectic my dad was with playing music for us. So, I mean, I'd say, you know, you can't see it here, but we got Bob Marley up on there. He was Bob Marley was a big influence. The Fugees, Lauryn Hill, Timbaland, Pharrell, Sade, big influence on like more of my melodic stuff. Of course, Hove,
nice.
Of course, Ye.
Yeah.
All these guys actually that are all over the studio here. Yeah, we got a lot of the historically great R&B and hip hop. Even Barry White, he's not a like a rapper or anything.
I mean, you could argue.
James Brown, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, anybody that made dope music. Like I remember the first time I heard this. Well, my dad, not the first time, but my dad he used to play this album from this. Is he a jazz artist? His name is Herb Albert.
Herb Albert, yeah, trumpet.
He's a trumpet player, right? So he would always play this album from when we was like babies. You know what I mean? And one day, as I started getting more into hip hop, which my dad doesn't really know that he actually got us into hip hop, without knowing, but the Biggie song, Hypnotized, Biggie, can't you see? I know the original of this song from when we was babies. I didn't have no idea that song came from that. You know what I mean? And so I would explain that stuff to my dad. Like a lot of the stuff that you were teaching us or by accident playing for us, like these stuff are in like Jay-Z records. These are in Mary J. Blige records. These are in all these, you know, newer age music that we were starting to grow up on. And it was kind of like, he was like the bridge without actually really knowing and giving us that appreciation of sampling and of interpolation of records from back then. Like, oh, I know where that came from. I know where that Ray Charles came from. That with the Jamie Foxx and this and that.
Wow.
Yeah. So all that stuff is influenced us from back then, and of course, even people today. You know, like Drake is an influence, and because he's such a big artist, and yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. Amazing. Your debut album Until Now really put you on a lot of people's radar when it came out in 2016. How important was that project to your career?
I mean, I think this probably would be the same thing for like most artists when you put out your first body of work, it's always gonna like hold a special place. You know what I mean? Like we didn't really know what we were doing when we made that.
Right.
You know what I mean? We didn't know, we had no idea what we were doing. To be quite honest with you, like that project was even old when we put it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we were still trying to figure out how we're supposed to do this. Like how we're supposed to do this music stuff. Like we knew that we knew how to make music. We know how to write songs, we know how to make beats. We can mix and engineer, and we can reach out to other people to master and do all these type of stuff. But in terms of getting records out and getting people to hear it, we didn't really know how to do that. So that project was like some of that project is made from 2015 and even 2014.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's always going to have that like weird, but yet like special. Like I sometimes, you hear old stuff as an artist, like me personally, maybe not you, but you hear it and you cringe. You're like, oh God, I can't believe can't believe I said that there. You know what I mean? Or like when people message me and say, yo, I still love you, shouldn't, like I forget about it until they like tell me about it or say anything. What do you say about like the production side of it for that project?
Like when I think about the production, like it was still a learning process in terms of figuring out, because I have a lot of production influences, like like Timbaland, Neptunes, Kanye, things like that. And like those stages, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted like the formula to be. And even though a lot of these producers will say sometimes you just have to go with a blank canvas and just kind of let the music speak for itself. So at that time, like there's so many different formulas that people have for songwriting or making music. And at that time, we knew what worked, but we didn't know for sure. So the production was just all over the place. But still, there was still a continuity to it, but I was still learning. So when I look back, I'm thinking to myself, there's so many different things that I could have done easily, or even just like replicated over again to get that sound and for people to really fall in love with it properly. You know what I mean? So that project represents like the learning process of things. It was still needed, and it's still, there's a lot of bright moments in it, but it really represents that you still have somewhere to go. Those artists that or producers that feel like there's nothing you can tell me now. Like I know everything, I'm the best. But
yes, I know.
You have to really be the best, you have to realize that you can always get better. And I know that from then I could get better, and even now, the stuff that now it's like light years away, but you can still get better. And that pushes me to continue pushing forward and get better.
Did you find
is vulnerable? It's like a
it is. It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when it's the first one, your first type of like here is like a collection of songs from us for the first time. It was mad weird. I'm not gonna lie. It was just super weird to do it that way. But
yeah, do you find, and maybe either one of you can take this question, do you find that the process got more focused as you kind of kept releasing more albums up until now with maybe it's nothing, maybe it's everything? Like, is that what's that 5-year sort of time frame look like for you guys now?
It's just like I literally laugh. Like the ease, like turning your pain or your joy or all your various things into music was so difficult back then compared to now. Like because there's so many tools, and you kind of know what quote unquote works, because you never know what really works, but you know what works for you, right?
Yeah.
So in that time frame, like things are just streamlined a lot better. Like he's able to convey to me the type of production that he wants to hear me do, and then I'm I'm at a space and we have a system where I can get him to take the chances on production and stuff like that. Whereas before it might have been a more like, I don't know, like, is this really the right idea? But now it's like, no. We know what works with us. And that only came through learning and time passing and really seeing what works on individual projects, individual singles, hearing what people have to say, how you feel at the end of it. You know what I mean? So I feel like I never feel like we've made our best song already. Like the best song that we have is not released yet. Like it's not out yet. It's always about to be made. You know what I mean? And that's I think that's a thing that a lot of great artists feel like. It's always coming. You're always past the stuff that you've already recorded. You're way past it. You know. That's what I would say.
Yeah, the dynamic that both you guys have is always fascinating to me, because even with the way I operate with my own stuff here at New Theory, like I got my little brother involved too, and he does a lot of my videos and my photography, and and again, like there's something about getting your family involved which allows there to be a lot of trust and a lot of trial and error and a lot of honesty. What's that dynamic like for the both of you?
I mean, you know what it is? I think it's a beautiful thing because we can be as rough as we want with each other and not take it personal. Like that's I think that's like one of the best things to have. Like we won't take, like we work with other people, right? We work with other people, other singers, other producers, other people on the team that we may have fights with. Like we can go, we'll have arguments. Like people be like, no, we'll have arguments in the studio. Like we'll record it, we'll butt heads, but it's never personal. Like we could literally just get over it after that moment of the heat. All of a sudden we just back to normal. And I think it's because we both know why we got in this for. You know what I mean? We know we both have the same goal. We both have the same destination that we're both trying to get to. And like his success is my success is his success. Whether he makes the beat that takes me to the next level, or what I wrote on that song takes him to the next level. Now all the artists are hitting him up for the production. I mean, it's just that unionship that just allows us to not feel any true animosity with each other. Yeah, like we don't need it. We don't go like, 2-3 days not speaking to each other because of what happened in the other day. But I'll have that with other people that I work with. I'll have that with my director. I'll have that with my, you know what I mean? We're just like, I'm mad at it now. Oh man, you know what I mean? But not with your brother. Not when it's do or die for both of us, really. So
amazing. Yeah. That's dope. What about you, Xpress? What's your thoughts?
I think like it's funny. Like a lot of people, I think in the industry, wish that they had situations where they had someone close like that to work with, because a lot of people try to mirror it in like with normal people, and it doesn't always yield the same results, because at the end of the day, that person can screw you over. And I'm not saying that family can't screw you over, because they can. But they can, and they have, right? But it's a little bit different when you kind of, like you said, when the goals are in line and you're building the stuff together. It just makes it, you understand that what you're in it, like it's like a tag team type of situation. It's not like an employee and an employer or like just a different type of, like your boy that you might see this whole week, and then maybe for a month you won't see or whatever. When it's family and you know that there's stuff that we built from scratch, things that we're building up to, that everything is interwoven, we're both needed in the process, then it your ego or whatever, it gets removed, and you don't really think about that. You're just thinking about the end result, the final product, the final project, the music video, the whatever have you. You just know that a lot of people, like, because even like other artists that have situations kind of like that, like you look at Jay-Z, with his close people with Biggs and those people, or Drake, even in his close circle, those people that are really successful, it's because they have that core that is like an impenetrable type of thing that from the outside world that they can't really get in as much as they try. And then other people don't have that, and then you'll see their career go up in flames right in front of you. You know what I mean? Because they don't have that core. They didn't have anybody looking out for them or whatever. So I think that's where we differ from a lot of these people, and then how we have similarities with some of these guys. You know?
Yeah. Amazing. Let's talk about the latest record. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's everything. It came out towards the end of last year, and it's getting a lot of awesome acclaim. Like I've been seeing just what people have been saying about it, and even just some of the opportunities that the both of you have been able to get with this record. I mentioned the Roots collaboration, and even getting some prominent airplay on some major stations. O'Shaun, just tell me some details on how this came together.
Prior to the pandemic, right? We're in a pandemic. It's a pandemic. We had okay. So we dropped until now 2016. We dropped almost everything in 2017. We dropped everything over everything else in 2018. 2019 we didn't put out a project. But we were working on this project. Right. And we wanted to do something different with how we release the project, because I know when you're not signed to a major, this is the time to try all the different variations of ways to promote and to see what works for you when it comes to getting attention to your records. So after careful studying and of watching other artists' mistakes, other artists' accomplishments, a lot of stuff that Russ was doing. Shout out Russ. I like his story a lot about putting out so much music and finding a way to gain that traction through releases. We said, okay, so we're not going to do what he did in terms of putting on a record every week for the year, but let's build this body of work, have this project, but release all the songs individually, though. Mm-hmm. Let's release all the songs individually so that we can focus our resources and our attention. And because, let's be honest, people's attention span is all over the place anyway. Yeah. So you got to help them focus on what you want them to focus on in the first place. So let's release the project, individual records throughout the year, and closer to the end of the year, wrap it all up with, maybe one or two bonus records that you didn't release earlier, and let the people who have been following you that whole time get that bonus, and the people who are just finding your music for the first time get this record. Because if that wasn't the case, we wouldn't have released that project in November, because we've already learned that the industry shuts down in December, half of December. So really, until like the second week of January or whatever. Yeah. So we would have only been able to have attention on the project for a month or so in November, and then and then that would be it. And then people love they love saying, "All right, I checked that out. So when's the next record come out?" It's like, I just dropped a whole body of work. They're like, yeah, but that was 2020. We're in 2021 now. So where's the, what I mean? So that calendar thing does something to people's minds, man. Like, that's 2020 or that's 2019. Where's the 2020 record? So, it was, but then the pandemic happened. And then it was kind of like, wow, like we were already doing this. Now people may not think that, we did it because everything shut down and whatever, and we're trying to pivot. No, we were already going this route in the first place. Yeah. Like we told ourselves, we were not going to, until we are exactly where we want to be in our career, we're going to find a way to release a bunch of these records individually, even though they're part of a body of work. We're telling ourselves that. We're not just making random singles and then just releasing them single-wise and then, put it together. No, it's already here's the project, boom. Here's the title, here's the artwork, here's everything, blah, 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 whatever's the grant, this, or whatever the case may be, boom. Okay, now, first song, you release it from it and put it out. So I felt like that worked for us very well. It gave enough attention to each record before it came out. And it's been great to just see what people gravitate towards from the project.
Right.
You know what I mean? What lasted after the release of those songs individually, what started to catch back on when the project actually came out.
Right.
What people are still talking to us about now. And that helps us focus on what type of music or what type of songs people are looking forward to hearing more from us moving forward.
Yeah, it's like research.
Yes, it's like exactly. Mm-hmm. So we're doing this research at the same time as being artsy, and at the same time as being smart, and at the same time still exercising our creative juices, for the people. So I enjoyed that way. I thought it was more efficient, and you'll have to look more. We'll be doing more of that style of.
For sure.
Of releasing in just because of how well it worked for us right now.
Amazing. Yeah. Why do you think people are impatient when it comes to releases? Like why? What? Because I've heard from a lot of my artist friends regarding that they'll put something out and people will listen to it for a couple days or a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden they ask them, hey, when's the next one out? Like they don't really sit with something long enough. I feel like an artist dies inside when that happens. Like, what do you guys think?
Bro, let me tell you something. We put out worldwide this video, right? We put out worldwide. We put out this video like a week, 2 weeks. I think maybe 2 weeks ago, two and a half weeks ago, something like that. That day, the energy, the money, the time that it took to put that video out was intense. It's crazy. And one of the number one comments from my email or from my DMs or whatever is, yo, that video was incredible. When's the next worldwide coming out? I'm like, the video's out for 2 minutes. What are we like blood, sweat, tears went into that video, and they're like, yo, it's crazy, but when's the next worldwide one coming out? I'm like, what does that mean? Like that? Like when is this one coming out again? It's like, bro, like let it live. People, listen, man, we're in a society. We don't let things live. We don't do that. And we, with everything's instant. Everything is we need right now. I'm not gonna say I'm any better. Growing up, I used to hate commercials, right? I used to hate commercials so badly that anytime I watched a show or a game or a movie, as soon as it went on commercial, I changed it and put it onto something else that was on. Because I wanted my brain to be constantly stimulated with content, with story, with drive. So when Netflix and all these things come out, I want my instant too. Like give me the whole season, and I'm gonna watch the whole season maybe in 2 days, and then after I'm gonna tweet, yo, when's season 2 coming out? Like how long? Like I said, I'm waiting for it, searching every day. Like when's season 2? These actors just kill themselves for 20 episodes. And I want the next thing. So I at the same time I can't blame them, but just because of how society is and everything is instant, and you order on Amazon, it comes out tomorrow, and if it takes 3 days, we're like, yo, what's wrong with Amazon, right? Like, why is it taking 3 days? I pay for Amazon Prime. Like, what's the deal? What is going on? 3 days? But I mean, it hurts a little bit sometimes, but not as much maybe for other artists, because me at XP, I promise you this, we're always making music. Like constantly.
Even now.
Even now.
We're doing this in between a session, right?
We're doing this, like we had a crazy session last night. Bro, we have you'll probably want to know, like we got projects that are already done. Like through the pandemic, because of the pandemic and because of the ability to be like at home majority of the time, and you don't have this having to go to this event and schmooze. You don't have to go to this club. We're not performing. We're not doing all this stuff. What do you think I'm doing? Me and XP are doing what we love to do best. Recording. He makes 5 beats. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I recorded 3 of those songs the next day, and we do it again the next day. and it's just constant, bro. Like, so for me, it's like, oh, I'm okay with it for now. Like, I'm okay with, you don't worry, man. I got more, baby. I got more. Like, we got more. We're still discovering ourselves. We're still talking about stuff that we haven't talked about enough yet, or talked about in certain ways. Like, I'm just getting started, man. Like, nice. We dropped Until Now in 2016, but I'm just getting started this year. Yeah. Really? Yeah. So I'm okay.
It feels like it, man.
Maybe
it feels like it.
Ask me a year from now if like I'm okay with people saying, okay, what's the next one? Maybe I'll be like,
we'll do a follow-up in a year. I'll put it in the calendar.
Yeah, put that follow-up. No, the stuff we about to do this year, you're gonna hit us. You're gonna talk to us before then. I promise you that.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure. And before we kind of jump into just what the plan is for the remainder of the year, just XP, just for yourself, what was sort of the game plan with the beats that you produced for the latest record? Like, how did you approach it?
Well, I approached it in a way that, we are of Nigerian and Jamaican descent, and I feel like there was like when the Afrobeat craze kind of hit the market a couple of years back, it was very tempting to kind of just jump in there, right? With those types of records. Because we had iterations and similar type of records, but we weren't in a place where we wanted to release them, because we realized that we're not trying to do it as a trend when we do Afrobeat inspired records, because we are from the place. It's not like, you know what I mean? We're not doing it because, every other song on the radio has an influence. So with this project, I wanted to find a way to introduce like the fans and just the sound of what our definition or interpolation of Afrobeat music is. So with one of the hip hop records, Come and See, when it finishes, it kind of goes into this fast type of beat breakdown, which is of Afrobeat vibe, and it kind of switches. The hook is still there, but then the Afrobeat vibe kind of kicks in, and then from there, the project kind of goes on to that Afrobeat tear, because after that is Sweet, which is another Afrobeat record that's kind of up-tempo as well, with idioms and stuff that our grandma used to say growing up and things like that. And then that trifecta kind of finishes off with Ademma, which is the slower one, the one that CBC played and stuff like that. I thought it was important to introduce the African side of us in a very musical way. Like, even those songs I just mentioned, they meld into each other. If you really listen to it properly, there's a melding and sonics that kind of go into the other. And when you're trying to show someone or people that this is a part of you, it's very important to make sure that the production reflects that and that you're ready to put it up. Because like I said, we could have, like, when One Dance and all these different songs were out, like, that would have been a great time to do it. But it's like, nothing happens before it's time. So you should never rush things or feel like the market is telling you to do it. If you'll do it when you're ready to do it and it sounds good and it makes sense to your story and what you're trying to convey to people, and then it's gonna end up sounding great. And those are some of the most beloved records from the project anyway. You know what I mean? So that kind of lets us know, okay, so this Afrobeat thing that we weren't sure about how you guys would receive it, you guys are receiving it well. So that lets us know, okay, we can feel more comfortable doing this and know that people will feel good about themselves. They'll feel enriched. They'll be entertained and love the music. So that was really the, we wanted to take everything that we learned from the previous projects, like Until Now and this and that and the third, and then take that into 2020, 2021 with the new things that we wanted to introduce. Because every project you do, you got to take what you learned or the essence of the one before it, especially if you want to build and go forward. Like, I can, like, almost every project we did is represented in some iteration on the maybe it's nothing, maybe it's everything. Yeah. And that's an important step to keep fans and keep people engaged and just, be creative with it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. So yeah, just one last question, and for either one of you, and maybe Sean will begin with you. Is what is the plan for the remainder of the year? You talk about that there's a lot of work happening in the studio. What does 2021 look like?
2021 looks like more everything, man. Like more music. I like, you know, one of my goals that we haven't done yet as artists the last 2 years that we wanted to do, but circumstances happened. But this year you can guarantee is that there will be more than one project this year. That's like a for sure thing. Like that will be released. There will be more than one project. I don't want to say exactly which number that it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But by December 31st, 2021, there would have been more than one project that's released from this calendar year, and that we haven't put out anything of it yet. There'll be a song dropping this March 5th. The first single of that EP is coming out, so you're the first I'm telling that to.
Yeah.
Okay, give us the exclusive.
I haven't posted it anywhere. I haven't posted the artwork yet. It's just dealt with the distribution, and so that's coming out March 5th. And that song is called Wildin', featuring my boy KO from Nova Scotia. Yeah. So that song is coming out on the 5th, and then the next record after that, 2 weeks from that, will be another record. Yeah. Goals. It's called Goals, and there'll be another record there, and then you know what I mean. And then before you know it, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about with the whole snowball effect of records that's going to be coming out. But yeah,
amazing. Wait, well, we're looking forward to it. I think honestly, the catalog speaks for itself, and even maybe it's nothing, maybe it's everything is a solid piece of work, and I wanted to thank the both of you. XP, thanks so much for joining us for this one as well, man. It's always great to hear from you and to connect with you again. And if anybody wants to connect with either one of you, what's the best way? And Sean, we'll begin with you.
Man, best way, I always say the easiest way is EverythingOShauN.com. All my links and everything is there, but I'm on IG heavy, so definitely just follow me on EverythingOShauN on IG. DM me, whatever. All our contacts is on the website. It's EverythingOShauN.com, OSHAUN.com. Instagram, same thing. Facebook, same thing. Twitter, it's almost the same thing, but they won't let me put another E on there because they're haters. You know what I'm saying? But besides that, we got the merch stores out right now. We got hoodies. We got T-shirts. We got our vinyl record, special edition vinyl, special edition of the project.
Oh, nice.
That's out there too. We got a few left, but yeah, man, just that's all. That's where you can find us, man. Support. We about to go real crazy, man. I just say people get on the train now. Don't sleep, because when you wake up, it might be too late. You can't get on that train that same way. I mean, like, I'll love it regardless, but don't say you didn't hear or you didn't know or Nav never told you, because Nav done told you. I was there when Nav told you, and y'all didn't listen yet. So
respect, man.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah, man.
And hey, we're looking forward. We'll stay on that train too. XP, what about you, man?
Yeah, just Xpress, aka DJXP on Twitter, Instagram, and everything. This Xpress, aka DJXP, all together.
You need beats? Hit up XP. You need beats. You need production.
Yeah, get it while it's low. You know,
get it while it's low. Because when it's high, it's a buy. Because when it's high, it's a buy. You know what I mean?
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. XP is one of my favorite follows on Twitter. So everyone go give it a shot. Give
he go crazy. He go crazy sometimes. he go crazy.
Yeah, some great takes, man. Some great takes.
Go crazy.
Honestly, no, this was fun, man. Thank you both for hopping on New Theory Radio. That's EverythingOShauN and DJ Xpress. Go give them a follow and go support what they're doing. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's everything is out right now on all streaming services. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to have more New Theory Radio in just a few moments here on News Talk Saga 960 AM.
Have fun with it. If I dip quick.
Enjoy this moment.
And this actually concludes this week's edition of New Theory Radio. If you want to connect with New Theory Radio, it is at New Theory Radio across all of our social platforms. If you want to connect with me, it is at Nav Nanwa on Instagram and Twitter. Big shout outs to my little brother Amit Nanwa, aka at Colorblind Photography _ on Instagram. He is the individual behind all of our social videos online. Go send him a follow. As well, special thanks to Dusty Loops. He is the producer behind our theme song. Go send him a follow at Dusty Loops across all social platforms. Thanks again for tuning in, and you will hear all of us next time. Peace.